Joining me now is Rick Shenkman, the founder of George Washington University's History News Network. Thanks so much for joining us, Rick. We've seen long lines now in several locations where there's early voting. It seems to me that people don't wait hours to vote for more of the same. Are the big turnouts in these states a bad sign for Donald Trump?
Well, they're a good sign for democracy. They are probably a bad sign for Donald Trump because I think what's happened is that the Democratic Party has just got a lot of energized constituents who want to get out there and make their voice heard. So it's probably not good for Donald Trump. Although I say there's a footnote here, which is that white voters who are not college educated, they tend not to vote that much. If some of these get out the vote campaigns are activating them, and some of them are very, very energetic and energized voters. Maybe he'll get a little bit of a bump as well. But basically, I think the pundits agree that this favors the Democrats.
We saw Joe Biden this week campaigning in Ohio, and specifically Cincinnati and Toledo, a manufacturing city that's a bit of a stretch for the left, but he's there. What does that tell you?
Well, no Republican has ever won the White House without Ohio. So that means that the Democrats feel like Ohio is gettable. And if they can get Ohio, they've won the election. So the fact that Biden is putting resources into Ohio suggests that their internal polling, unless this is just a feint against Trump trying to psych him out, this suggests that their internal polling is probably indicating that it's possible for them to take Ohio, which would really be something. If they win Ohio, the election's over.
Key swing states are controlled by Republican legislatures. How likely is it a scenario that by December, if there are discrepancies in the tally in individual states, that those legislators may override their state's votes and basically tell the electors for the Electoral College who to vote for, and what might be the consequences of that kind of scenario?
So there's really one state above all others that we have to really be looking at, and that's Pennsylvania, because it is one of these swing states. And Pennsylvania, the last time went for Trump. This time, it's heavily favored to go for Biden. But suppose it's a close election, and Trump can make a lot of noise about how there's millions of stolen votes. In Pennsylvania, that could be crucial because the state legislature is controlled by the Republicans. The governorship is controlled by a Democrat. The state legislature could say, okay, we think that there's so much confusion out there about whether or not we had an accurate vote that we are going to make the unprecedented call of deciding who gets the state's electoral college votes. And under the Constitution, they can do that. The state legislature can do that. So despite the vote of the people in the election, the legislature could say, we are going to send to Congress a slate of Republican electors to vote for Donald Trump. At the same time, the Democratic governor could come back and say, hold on, I am going to be sending a slate, and it's going to be based on the vote of the people, and it would be a Democratic slate of electors. Then you would have two different slates of electors showing up basically at Congress, and then the fireworks begin, because now Congress would have to decide which slate of electors they were going to accept from Pennsylvania. In a close election, this could be decisive. So keep your eye on Pennsylvania.
And Rick, very briefly, one last answer. Trump's been warning about voter fraud, specifically mail-in ballots. Have we seen any of that yet?
The only ballot fraud that there's been found so far has been on the Republican side. In California, they've been putting out these, the Republican Party's been putting out these boxes that they claim are legal, but the state attorney general says no, they're not legal, and the boxes say official government ballot drop box. So is it official? Well, it's probably not official unless the government says this is an official drop box. So that's problematic. But basically, all the political scientists who have studied this issue have said there's very, very little chance of actual fraud involving mail-in ballots. So we shouldn't be worried about that. With all the things to worry about, that's something we shouldn't be worried about.